Hello everybody and welcome to another video. This video is part 8 of my F1 2020 MyTeam Career mode, and we are here in Baku for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. As we advance our time, as we get our weekly resources and just do our activities, hopefully have a better time than we did last week. We just had a very up and down race. It was going well until we made that call to go into the pits from the hard tyres, and just with how things worked out and the leaders being ahead of us on track, it meant that we ended up being a lap down behind Latifi. So hopefully we have a better time this week. Here we are for Baku. I am expecting us to struggle a little bit, just due to the fact that it's a massive power circuit, and that is where we struggled the most, as we do have one of the weakest power units on the grid, being Renault. So we do have some major upgrades on the way, but there's nothing we can do to change that. It's just, they're on the way. We've just got to hope that they come ASAP, especially with a bunch of power circuits coming up with Monza. As we start our lap here, as you can see, we're being fairly cautious. We do run over the curb, but at this point, we don't need to be running on the edge. It's just to get a lap in, as we do set a 140.2, which isn't actually too bad, and only ends up being about 6 tenths. Yeah, 8 tenths away from Delatraz. So there is time to find, and I know that, mostly in the first sector, as I was very cautious with the walls, as I don't gel with this track very well, so it will take me a bit to get up to speed. As you can see now, we are attacking the turn 1 a hell of a lot more. We're using far more inside curb, and this will actually end up being our fastest lap of the session due to circumstances later on, as we go through the castle section now, getting as close to inside as we possibly can and just carrying as much speed as we can, as we do get a little bit of a slide coming out the exit of this section, but otherwise it's fine. As we go down the start finish straight, we're actually 8 tenths up on our time, and that will mean that we match Delatraz and we set a 139.3 and end up being actually a tenth faster than Delatraz. So overall, a pretty decent showing, and as you'll see, that is the best time of our session, because as you see now, we're going out onto track. There is about 10 seconds remaining as we're coming through this essence now, but as you see, we've run out of time right here. We're going down to the start finish line, so only just missed out, but that does mean that we will be starting on P21 in this race. Yeah, we locked out the back row. So that's just the lack of power for you. Hopefully the race it ends up being a lot better, just from the fact that we have Slipstream, we have DRS and ERS to use, but hopefully we have a much better time in the race and just be able to gain positions. We were only a tenth off Russell in the Williams with the Mercedes power unit, so it's not all bad news. But anyway, it's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
A warm welcome to all of you watching at home to today's Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and a race that in its short history has already proven no stranger to drama. A fourth row start is just about as likely to give you a podium as a pole position would. And remember, in 2017 and 2018, both Lance Stroll and then Sergio Perez took surprise podiums here. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Now, I want to talk to you about Valtteri Bottas. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Perez, Albon, Ricciardo, Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi, Gasly, Sainz, Lance Stroll and Ocon, Kvyat, Norris, Kevin Magnussen and Roman Grosjean, Latifi, Russell, the Professor and Louis Delatraz. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
So here we are now on the grid for the start of the Grand Prix. It's going to be a fairly simple one-stop strategy from mediums to hards. So hopefully we can take advantage of the medium tyres and get past people starting on the hards. So here we are now for the start of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It is 5 red lights. And away we go for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We get actually a very decent start. We jump Russell off the line, but we get a load of wheel spin on going into fourth gear as well. So we just sent it down the outside of Latifi and Delatraz. And Delatraz actually sends it to the inside and actually breaks his front wing. So even though he's right behind us on track, he's got massive front wing damage on the left and right of the car. So he's overcooked it into turn 1. So now here we are, we're right behind Lando Norris. He's on the hard compound tyres, so if possible we'd like to get past him, but just with how the chassis is on that McLaren, even though our engine is theoretically more powerful, they just have much better drag resistance, and we just lose time on the straights no matter what we do. So here we are now on at the midpoint of lap 1. Delatraz has already got a 3-second gap, and that's just due to his front wing damage as he does pit at the end of lap 1. So, lap 3 now. Lando Norris is on the offensive. He's going to go for a move on Kevin Magnussen. But he's going to try it round the outside. And it's absolutely dangerous to try it there, as you can get squeezed into the wall. But he doesn't quite make it work. He's now slots in behind Kevin Magnussen. And those Haas cars are going to be ferocious. They've got the Ferrari power unit, and they're going to be mighty. And that's why we're fortunate that Delatraz held up Russell, because they've got the Mercedes power unit. But as you see now, we are right behind Lando Norris. We did actually think about having a dive to the inside, but we decided against it, as he was going for looking at having a move on Magnussen, as we do try to slot our car in on the outside of this right-hander, but again, doesn't quite work. So now, we're on lap 4, we're behind Lando Norris, about 2 tenths away, as we have actually broke the RS between him and Norris, and we just hit the back of Norris twice. Here's McLaren. You can see there we're checking for damage on the car, which we're very fortunate not to get. And yeah, as you can see, it's just very, very close. He was compromised lines for all those corners, and he just kept making mistakes, so we were just able to run into the back of him. As I said, luckily we didn't get damage, but we are now right behind Norris. There is a nice gap between him and Magnussen, so hopefully we can have a run now as we hop on here in lap 5. There is a smoking car, and it is actually the racing point of Lance Stroll, who is out of this race for an engine failure, and that means we are up into P16 in this race, and that is absolutely great stuff. We are already up by about 5 positions on the grid. So yeah, we just need to keep this momentum going. As you can see, we do fall back quite a bit on Norris, but as you can see here on lap 7, the leaders have pit from the soft tyres onto the hards, and we have come out ahead of Vettel, who is going to be wanting to get past us ASAP. So on lap 7 we have DRS, so he doesn't quite get past us here, but we do need to hold him at bay for as long as possible, as it just gives us the best chance of attacking him later in the race. Unlikely, but you never know what happens around Baku. So as you can see here now on lap 8, 1 lap later, he's going to be going down on the straight. That Ferrari power unit is absolutely ferocious and mighty. So he's going to be trying it round, like just on the straight, and he gets the move done. We don't really try to fight it too much, as there's no point to Ferrari. But as you see here, we actually have a bit of a strategy switch flick in our brain, and we do decide that we're not really going to fight Bottas, as if those two storm off ahead and battle Norris in the corners, we can actually gain loads of time on Norris. So there's Vettel and Bottas right ahead of us. We didn't let Leclerc through, as we would have just lost too much time just going slowly. But as you can see here now, Vettel's got past Norris and Bottas is now going past, as Leclerc actually tries to move down the inside of us. So we don't really, again, we don't fight it too much, but he doesn't make it stick, and we are now right behind Lando Norris in this race in P10. Obviously that is artificially P10, as people are still yet to pit in this race, but we are scheduled for a pit stop on lap 11, so it's not too long now for a pit stop, as we do run a little bit deep into this chicane, but it doesn't allow Leclerc to attack us and lose time, so we're right behind Lando Norris. So here we are on lap 10 in this Grand Prix. We have DRS open, overtake on, and we actually have enough speed to go for a move on Norris, and we make it stick. And as we go into the braking zone, Norris actually has a bit of a pop back, so we have to correct our line, but he doesn't get it done, and me and Leclerc are through on Lando Norris, and hopefully we can just pull a gap, and that'll help us strategy wise later in the race. So now the next car is Magnussen. We're not looking at attacking him, but as you see here now, Leclerc is going to go for a move on us, and we just decide, you know what, we're not going to fight it. We remain in standard mix, we don't stick it into overtake, and we don't want to attack. But Verstappen goes for a very late move on Lando Norris into that corner, so that does hold them both up, and he only just gets it, so they lose about 1.5 seconds. And here we are now in the pits on at the end of lap 11 onto lap 12. Well, hopefully our pit crew can have a great stop. We had some brilliant pit stops last week, but this one's underwhelming. It is a 1.7 second pit stop, so by no means is it a bad pit stop, but we've seen better from the guys, so we just need to get a bit more consistency from them as we rejoin the race in P19 in this race. Latifi and Delatraz are the cars behind. Delatraz, as I said, had to pit for wing damage, and he pit again on lap 7, I believe. So he's going to be, he's really far behind. So now, as we move on to lap 16 here, Ricciardo has come into the pits. He's on the medium compound tyre, and he overall has a better car, as that gap before the straight was about 1.5 seconds. He's pulled that in to 0.4 of a second. So we've now got Ricciardo issues. So as we go on to the second straight, he does decide he wants to have a bit of a move. He's got DRS open, but we stick it into overtake and Rich Mix. We don't really want to let him through at this stage in the race, as we will be fighting him for position later on. So we do squeeze him a little bit to the wall, and that means that he doesn't go for the move round the outside. So that does mean we hold on to P16 in this race for a little bit longer while he goes for a move. But as we're here on the straight, we just can't fight it. We don't put it into overtake, but we stick it rich mix, and we get in straight into the slipstream, just trying to gain as much time as possible. And we are only 3 tenths off our personal best lap time. That was by no means a bad lap, but that Renault is really nice in a straight line. It's got the very nice chassis and it's slippery. So here we are now on lap 19 of this race, and as once again, like Monaco, we look to the mini-map, Max Verstappen is out of the race. This time he didn't set the fastest lap, so it's not quite deja vu, but he's out of the race again, and we do decide we want to pit. We're going to pit onto the soft compound tyres, as that does give us the best chance of gaining as many positions as possible, but we need to be able to attack. So as we see here now, we're having a pit stop, and it's 1.9 second pit stop, so that's absolutely brilliant stuff, and we rejoin in P18 after losing only 1 position. Esteban Ocon did come into the pits with us, as I believe he had front wing damage, so he did come in. But we are now in P18 in this race. We only lost 1 position, and that's to George Russell. So we're in very good shape in this race for a good result, with 5 laps remaining in this race. Oh, it's going to get frosty as we join the back of the queue at the beginning of lap 22. But here we are now. Safety cars coming in at the end of this lap. We're getting ready. We're on the throttle quite a bit. We're trying to get some heat into the tyres, so we're just not left napping on the restart. As you can see here now, we're slowly revving up. We're slowly gaining speed, and as we are on the safety car restart, we are go now. We stick into overtake ERS mode, but I do believe we are still in lean, as I forgot to change it. But going into turn 1 now, we have a massive lunge down the inside of both Ocon and Russell, and we do make it stick. A very clean move, and we make it stick, and we are up into P16 in this race. Grosjean is the next car in the Haas, and he's on the hard compound tyres, so we need to get up ahead of him as soon as possible, as Norris is ahead of him in P14, so he is guy we want to get ahead of, so this strategy is a complete disaster. So we need to go now. So Grosjean now, as we send it down the inside of him once again, 2 times in 1 lap, and we did actually try to back it out, but he slowed down on the apex of the corner, and that gave us every means to go for. But he does actually dive it down on our inside when I do believe we left enough space, but he spun round, which is just unfortunate for him. He just went in a bit hot-headed, as Norris is now going for a move on Ricciardo. Actually, no, Ricciardo's going for a move on Magnussen, as they're nearly going 3 wide as Norris tries to go on the outside. But we are now right behind Norris in this race. We want to be trying to get past that McLaren ASAP to have a best chance, as we do have a little look down the inside, but we've got a massive straight after that. There's no point going for a move too early, and we left napping on the straight. So here we are now, Rich Mix, overtake ERS mode. We're only matching him on the straight, but as we approach the braking zone, we send it down the inside. Very Daniel Ricciardo-esque, as he is the next car, and I think that would have his seal of approval as we send it down the inside Lando Norris, and that is absolutely brilliant move. He's also one of the drivers that pit on the soft, but we just have much better pace at this stage of the race. So here we are now on to lap 25, 2 laps remaining in this race, as Ricciardo goes for a move on Kevin Magnussen, and he does actually make it. He doesn't make it stick at this first jab, but he does have another straight, but surely he would make that move stick. So we're now right behind. We did think we could have a little sniff at Ricciardo into this braking zone, similar to what we did with Norris, but as you'll see here, it's just the gap's too big, and he brakes very late, and we do, as you can see, we do pull off the racing line, but we just can't make it. We would have gone into the wall had we tried it, but without further ado, it is free-for-all for P11 in this Grand Prix. As we're here at the end of lap 25, Daniel Ricciardo on the straight is going to get past Kevin Magnussen, who is on the hard compound tyre, and Norris is actually going to try and move on us around the outside, as we do make a little bit of contact. There was no damage, luckily, but we defend it to the inside brilliantly. So, and now Kevin Magnussen is the next car on the final lap of this race. So this is going to get very close down the line. So the DRS open, so that does leave us safe from an attack from Norris, but Magnussen is the next car, as we are 7 tenths up on our previous best on the final lap of this race. Kevin Magnussen is the next car. we've got Overtake on, we've got Rich Mix on, and we're going to have the RS. As you can see, we are gaining in this race on the start-finish straight. Are we going to get him before the line? We're in the slipstream, we pull out the slipstream, and we get the move done before the line, and that is P12 in this race. Excellent stuff. Oh, need to calm down after that one.
And so ends another Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a fascinating race and a well-deserved victory. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Despite the best efforts of our championship leader, that lead has taken a bit of a knock today. Now, let's discuss, Ants. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
I have to give it to the Professor. They did a great job at getting the most out of their tyres without losing pace, something that's a very handy skill to have in modern-day Formula One.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Another team that will be satisfied with this Grand Prix is Alfa Romeo, whose good result moves them further up the championship. Well, Ants, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So that was a very action-packed Grand Prix at Baku, and we come through for an excellent P12 after being nowhere in qualifying, and that is absolutely brilliant stuff. Delatraz, after pitting on the safety car, actually gained a few positions himself into P17 in this race, so overall a good showing in those final few laps, as our fastest lap is actually about second quicker than Delatraz. So I could have asked for a much better race, and for the first time in about 3 races, someone other than Bottas wins. So loads of new things were happening. But now, as we advance the time, there's not very long between now and the Canadian Grand Prix, but we've got to set activities. There's no point wasting the time. It's a small amount of time, but it's time that can be well used. But we do decide that we want to have the aero team building, as that does improve morale, and we are going to be asking for upgrades from them very soon. So, and now we're looking at upgrades. We're going to be having 2 major upgrades, one for engine power, one for ERS, and that they are hopefully going to be in for, not next race, but the race after, I believe, is France, and we do decide we want to have another durability upgrade for the ICE. So hopefully that means that our engine stops wearing as much as possible. As you probably saw in that race, our gearbox is wearing quite a bit, which is unfortunate. But we do, as you can see, we have 3.95 million, and that does mean we are going to be buying upgrades to the durability facility, and that's going to be for fabrication. So hopefully we can start getting durability going on the way and make that as good as possible, as we do actually have the worst reliability on the grid. And with that, that comes to the end of the episode. We do need to start thinking about whether we want to replace Delatraz, but that is a conversation for later down the line. But thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and press the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a video. And everybody, just have a great day, and be sure to keep an eye out for new videos.